100% correct. Marvin Jones was a beast. Yeah, Brooks, Davis, Boulware, Poley. FSU had some mean backer, 100%. Those edge guys, Renard Wilson, remember him? He played with Boulware. I mean, good Lord. That's as good a 1-2 punch on both edges as you'll ever see in college football. Angelo Smith, I was hearing that a linebacker from Georgia was coming to visit with MJ. That's what some other people said, Angelo. I have not checked that much on it today. I've been doing some more other statistical research and all that with the linebacker stuff. But yeah, it's not surprising. I think we're at a point where we can safely say they need the help at linebacker. If somebody wants to pull it up and put it in the chat who that kid is, that's great. I forget his name, but he's a big-time backer. One of my buddies had sent me a message about him about 24 hours ago. Omar, yeah, Omar's a good player too. Irvin, at any point when you can get an extra linebacker that got a little experience, that's why I said on my list, I've got 2 that they need in the portal, but anybody you can bring back to that can play, yeah. Kirk Carruthers, yeah, he was a hell of a linebacker. He played in the NFL for quite a while. Florida State is among the best programs since Bowden was there at all the spots, really. But linebacker, pretty high on the board. So I don't know. I don't know what to say there. Yeah. Thumbs up to Irvin. Yeah. Look, experience a linebacker, man. Middle of the field, directing the defense. If you don't have it there, that's for every guy that's like an elite player that played at Florida State or Florida Miami, one of these guys that played as a freshman somewhere, that 5-star, those guys are even rare at the rarest situations, even at the big 3. And all of them have had great linebackers. They're usually still sophomores at the earliest. Florida State needs 2 guys from the portal, man. They need 2. Question for everybody in the chat. Obviously, linebacker is a concern of mine, and it's my number one concern as a position group. Quarterback's different because it's a one-person deal. What position are you most concerned about beyond linebacker? I'm a little torn on it. I'm concerned. Daughtry's in the portal. Matter of fact, I got some of the guys that are in the portal here. I wrote it down today. AJ Duffy, Rodney Hill, CJ Campbell, Malcolm Ray, the D lineman, Quason, Sapp, and Daughtry Richardson, both O linemen. That's not good. And linebacker DJ Lundy. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but again, that's Duffy at quarterback, Hill and Campbell at running back, Ray at D line, Sapp and Richardson O line. They were underclassmen. Lundy at linebacker. O-line is probably my next pick because I just think it needs to get better in general, but I'm curious. D-tackle and receiver. I think receiver has some talent. One of the guys can step up. I don't think they have as much need numbers-wise. They need a guy. They need somebody to step up, and it could be Hakeem. His freshman to sophomore year should be a pretty big jump, and they have some other guys, too, that are pretty good. K-Jack says D-tackle and receiver, though. Angelo, left tackle and center. Not going to argue. Like when Mo's not in the lineup at center, it's not the same. I'm not picking on anybody else, but Mo is a darn good center and left tackle. Speaks for itself. Wide receiver and O-line for Daddy Noel. And a veteran receiver. Yeah, like even if it's a guy, like I mentioned, Jamal something, I can't remember his name. The kid that was at Wake Forest, I looked him up. He's like 6'4", 205. He's more of a possession guy, and that's cool. But if you get that guy, you put him around guys like Ja'Kai Douglas, etc. He's good in the run game. He's 205, and he's 22 years old. He's going to be a little better blocker. He's caught a bunch of balls, caught around 100 balls. And he's also going to be a boundary receiver that teams have to respect. That helps all your other skill guys. So Angelo is 100% correct. I think that's a really important thing. William McMillan. I'll be so glad where we start picking up portal players. Getting worried. It's a little early. Here's the thing. It doesn't end until the 2nd of January. Mr. McMillan, it is still early. K-Jack, the kid Mario Williams just hit the portal from USC. What do you mean, hit the portal? He's going to the NFL. He'd be the first pick in the draft. There's no way he's going to the portal. Oh, Mario Williams. Wait a minute. This is an interesting one. That's the wide receiver that's from Plant City, Florida. My apologies, not Caleb. Mario, well, he would be a tremendous pickup. He is electric. He's a kid everybody knew, freshman on at Plant City High, etc. He's a dude. That's one to monitor. Circle that one on your board. Urban Williams, I'm hoping Julian and Estes become starters on the O-line. You know what? Spring ball will take care of that. O-line is a developmental spot, but you have to, as they say, over-recruit. What happens, happens. If somebody leaves, somebody leaves. That's the era we're in. I'm not disagreeing with Urban on that, but it's something that you got to look at. Mr. McMillan, oh, we need Mario Bat. Yeah, he can, dude, I'm telling you, he's not the biggest dude. He's 5'10-ish, but he is a human joystick. Nothing wrong with that. So, I can't really think of, O-line is just stuck in my head. And I know they need D-line, but they're going to be okay there with the way they're recruiting. Maybe they get the kid from North Carolina, add another little bulk, get one portal guy. I'm worried about O-line. And of course, again, my number one spot is linebacker. Rod Stoudemire says, O-line D-tackle. I don't have a problem with that. Big body guy. Size matters. McMillan, hit the line button, people. Yeah, I get it. Offensive and defensive line is always going to be thin. I mentioned that earlier in the show. There's no reason to believe that's not going to be the case. There's just not. Florida State, like anybody else, is going to have a hard time getting everybody they want out of the portal at positions of need. But when you miss in the trenches, it's just harder. It just is. Then you have to worry about your guys getting knocked. Like your quarterback takes more shots. You have more negative plays. O-line in particular takes longer to gel. Got to have them, man. If you can get a good O-lineman with start of the year, even if he started at Princeton and he's 6'6", 300 pounds, you have to consider it. Mr. Kool-Aid Maker. Dumas Johnson, I believe, is the Georgia linebacker that is coming with MJJ. If I remember right, he's a kid that's from the area too, and he was a thumper. He was extremely highly recruited. So if he's on campus, good for Florida State. Mr. McMillan, great show. Thanks for all the info. My pleasure. I'm going to probably do one more show this weekend. Lord only knows what'll break. I'm going to kind of wait on breaking news. My luck, I'll be out at the grocery store or something when something happens. But we're close to signing day. It is what it is. I do enjoy doing these kind of shows, so I'm going to break them up. If anybody has any ideas on things they want to hear about between now and, say, a week or so from now, right before Christmas, let me know. Put it in the chat, whatever. I'll be more than happy to take a look at it and at least address it during one of these live shows. Do you think Amari Williams commits soon, and how does he stack up versus Blunt and McCray? Okay, well, that's a good question. If he's visiting this weekend and it's his only visit, unless he's going to take visits in January, and I don't know, I would assume that he's going to go to Florida State. If he signed it next week, he's going to Florida State. As far as how Blunt is a different kind of player. Blunt is incredibly strong for his, he's 25 pounds to 30 pounds heavier. He's really strong. Somewhere kind of athlete, maybe not straight line and open field speed, but he's a lineman, so it doesn't matter. I think Blunt has incredible upside. I just don't know exactly how he's going to end up. Is he going to be a 3-tech, 5-tech combination? I don't know. That'll take care of itself. As far as McCray, he's just starting to play D-line. This was the first year. It's so bizarre that LJ McCray plays at Mainland, ended up playing D-line. He's committed to Florida. There's a lot of talk about Florida State and Auburn. I don't know where he's going. Again, like with other guys, just full disclosure, LJ McCray, I've heard he's definitely staying in Florida. Then I was told today by somebody else, Auburn thinks they got him. And then he was just at Florida State as well. I have no idea where he's going. But he's 275, and he's just warning the spot. And he was actually playing outside linebacker at about 275 this year. He's listed like 250 or whatever. He had to have been bigger than that. I'm just using that weight. He did not tell me that, but he is a big dude. What do we got here? All right. DA, not DA, DA1, not DA2. Look, what's up with the Georgia lawmaker? I'm not sure what's going on with that. There's another pending case because the NCAA is getting sued all over the place. And court rulings like the one in West Virginia, in case anybody didn't see it, is an important one to bring up. Somebody said if you transfer a second time per the federal government, you are now allowed to do so without sitting out. The NCAA is trying to fire back at them, and that is going to be ugly. 6 teams. I'm not sure what you mean, brother. Oh, college football playoff. That's interesting. I don't know, man. I haven't seen anything on that. I'll have to read up on it after this if there's another college football playoff deal. Lord only knows what's going on there. I haven't the slightest. I hadn't. That's the first I've heard of it. Maybe I've been buried so much in the stats and like really specific stuff today. It might have went right past me on the timeline. While I'm thinking of it, there's probably a lot of things right now because everybody's trying to get stuff in right before the end of the year. The Georgia attorney that's trying to get the FSU Georgia game, the CFP. Look, they can call it what they want. But for those that don't know, the CFP title game, they are not a part of the NCAA. That is not the NCAA championship. That is their own deal. They can call it what they want. I mean, if Florida State, Georgia want to do it, they can absolutely do it. Brendan with 0. Seems like there's a better plan B options as far as quarterback goes. There are some pretty good backup quarterback options. And like, I don't know if DJ Uiagalelei is going to end up at Florida State if they don't get Cam Ward or somebody else. But I trust Norvell with quarterback situation, and he's got a good staff around him. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Georgia has a guy wanting the Florida State Georgia game to be added to the. Well, there are a bunch of people. Because I don't doubt that, but look, they're not going to. If you're talking about the actual playoff game in terms of this group being forced to, it's not going to happen. They wouldn't legally, you know how things crawl anyway. But it's interesting that they're trying, and they could make this. They can, like, whoever wins could say, "I'm the national champion." What's stopping them? Any quarterback interest from the guy from the Longhorns? To my knowledge, he's going to have a billion phone calls. But you know what? The backup quarterback that was at Texas, he got him through some games when Quinn Ewers was out. Malik Murphy's his name. I don't know what teams have been interested in. Is it Ohio State? You would assume both LA schools would be involved with Malik. He's from the greater Los Angeles area, but I don't know. Like I said early on in this chat, with a high school kid, sometimes I can call a 7-on-7 guy, whatever, and find out. I don't have LA connections, West Coast connections for one, and he's been at Texas for a couple of years. I don't know. I think he could do pretty well, but he can move, but he's not Jordan Travis mobile. We got 14 days to see. That is true. Could Amari develop into a backer? He's 215, so it's possible, and he's 6'4", and he can bend and run and change direction. Amari could play about anything. Mr. Kool-Aid Maker, he is a phenomenal athlete. Not a good one, a phenomenal one. In Norvell, we trust. Go Noles, eat more Gator. That's a great post. Post of the day, Mr. Jeff Burrows. Yeah, I don't, going back to this for a second, figuring out what a position a player is going to be long-term can sometimes be hard, but that's a good thing because that means the young man in question, or more than one in some cases, are just that talented. What position do you need for that year? There are a lot of guys that have Hall of Fame next to their name in Canton, Ohio, that at one point in time were a running back or a quarterback or whatever it was. And then they ended up, once they got to the college level, by their sophomore, junior year, they figured it out. This is my spot. And they go to the NFL. And of course, in the NFL, you're pretty much going to play one for the most part. Now, this modern era, there's a little more guys moving around because it's the spread era. But traditionally, you're a middle linebacker, you're tight end, you're tight end. I think Amari will figure it out no matter where he goes. But you can't take it away at 215 that he couldn't play linebacker. I'm telling you, he can bend and he can change direction. I've seen it in my own two eyes at a track practice and his football practice that day. He is a very talented athlete. Let's see. K-Jack. Jaron Jones declared for the draft, but they say he's playing the bowl game. Good news. Shout out to the guys who graduated today on both accounts. Jaron Jones declaring for the draft. That's why I always say I'm going to wait till all the kids have declared. I think it's around the 15th when the NFL draft date is. K-Jack, you are correct. Also, congrats to everyone that got their FSU degree today. Let's see. You think FSU starters play in the bowl game? I think they have a little more incentive than most of the other bowl games, but a lot of guys are just worried about getting hurt, man. I remember, forget what year it was, Jake Butt, 19, something like that. The tight end for Michigan was going to go pretty out. He got hurt. His career was really short after that. I think that has a lot of guys scared. Angelo Smith, does Florida State have any interest in any running backs from the portal? I would imagine they do. Even if it's a specialist, like a bigger back or something, I just don't know which ones. I would consider taking, like I said this yesterday, a running back, at least one receiver, and even if it's a backup, a quarterback every year, possibly a tight end, because experience, cohesion, understanding how system works on offense is a little different than defense. I would look at that. That's just my opinion. Kool-Aid Maker. Charlie Ward was a punter. Yeah. Charlie Ward could have done about anything. Could have been a slot, and he'd have been a hell of a free safety. Bowden and those guys thought he was going to be a DB at one point. Charlie thought otherwise. Way past off otherwise. Facts. Thank you, Angelo. I think that back to Angelo's point from a second ago, if you get, let's say, if you go into a season with 4 running backs, it's not enough. One guy's nicked. One guy at the college level is still learning. One guy is probably more of a specialist, and then you got a starter. It's kind of how it works, usually. Florida State was a little more blessed this year. They had a really good group. They were deep as hell. But that's the exception, not the rule. Like Keziah and CJ are down at the bottom of the depth chart. They would start or play a lot at other schools. CJ goes to portal. Keziah is going to get his chance this coming year. Obviously, they had Rodney. They had Lawrence DeFeely. And they had Trey Benson. That is depth. You're not going to have that every year. So if you can get a portal guy, even if it's somebody's going to run for 200 yards, but they can come in and be a good practice player, be a good kid, pass block a little bit, you take that kid. Kool-Aid Maker. Jamon Dumas is showing on the Georgia website. 7:30 entered the portal. Very interesting. Florida State, best team in college. Angelo, right tackle is as neat as well, I think. Byers is a guard, not a tackle. Probably so. Finding tackles, man, is hard. Real hard. And to be honest with you, it just is what it is. So, who would you key on as far as transfer edge rushers? Any names you like? Well, obviously, Marvin Jones Jr., Oben committed to Notre Dame. I haven't researched much besides quarterback because it takes so much of my time. Trying to think off the top of my head who it was. There was another kid, the Joey Slackman kid, I know was a tackle that a bunch of people were interested in. He was at Penn, but I can't remember too many good like DNs. Like, again, they either turn pro or they stick. They don't have much reason to transfer unless it's a grad kid. Jafari Harvey, somebody is kind of interesting. He was at Miami. He's from Vero Beach. I'm sure he'll get an offer from several schools in the South. He's got another year, and that's a big body. But off the top of my head, there aren't a ton of guys I'd be interested in, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Cody Gibson, which linebackers and corners will FSU go after? Georgia has a ton in the portal. Yeah, I got to research it. I have not got into that part yet because I've been messing so much with signing day. After signing day, I'll know more of this. I just don't have enough time to get to all of it yet. I wish I did, but that's a really hard thing to get to. Irvin, as long as Florida State wins 10, as the Florida, we don't care who we get. 10 or more is a pretty good barometer. NK, man, I wanted Oben. There's a guy at Pitt, can't remember his name. Here's the interesting, the kid at Pitt, he's a year older. Okalola, who you're talking about, his brother is at Miami. But I think the kid at Pitt has visited FSU, or he's going to, but I know the Noles are involved. Let's see. FSU has 2 3-star linebackers. Let me talk about those kids for a second again. Jaden Parrish is better than the 3-star. I don't give a crap who ranks him. I saw him be a dominant player in the spring at the Jamboree at Palm Beach Gardens. He's a dude. He is a dude. The other kid, Tamir Hickman Collins, plays like Indian Land, South Carolina. It's like Podunkville. That is a Mike Norvell special. He grades the kid individually, does not care what other people think, and that's the end of the discussion. Then I turned on the tape too. He can run, he can hit, solid frame. He has a chance to be a really good linebacker. But he plays in the middle of nowhere. It's not the same. When I go watch Chaminade, Madonna, St. Thomas Aquinas, IMG, whatever, there's a reason. I'm going to see multiple kids. If I go see that kid, it's one guy. That's why they don't get scouted as much. They both play running back. Interesting. Michael Washington, what's up? Do you believe Auburn's flips KJ? Quite possibly, but I've heard literally he's going to go Florida State. I've heard he's definitely not going to in the last 24 hours. I'd give it up. People I trust, too. Angelo, FSU will show the nation why we're the real DBU next season. We are loaded. I think Florida State's DB unit, I know I've talked a lot about this on the show. Kids like Conrad Hussey and what coming up, you've got plenty of guys like that, freshmen and sophomores. Obviously, it helps to have the experience they did this year, and they're losing Fintrell, etc. But they got some dudes coming up, and this freshman class is going to be loaded. Wait a minute. Did I hit that? Let's see. Yeah. All right. Kool-Aid Maker. Why are tackles not entering at the rate of the other positions? Are they paid better from the jump? It's more mentality. Offensive linemen, as a general rule, commit to something and stick with it. It's just a mentality. It has nothing to do with the portal. It has nothing to do with NIL. They pick a school. They go to the school. They develop. They leave that school. That's it. If you don't get high school offensive linemen, you're in trouble. Go get 3-star dogs. Nothing wrong with that, man. The 1, not the 2. You know what, man? Look, if you evaluate the kids and you like them, you got to live with it. But, I mean, I like both those kids. Hickman's really good. And to be honest with you, I think Parrish one of the better linebackers in Florida, if it's not the best. First had 0 stars, so let's let that sink in. That's true, Zambito. That is true. DBU is back. It's incredible how many guys Florida State used to produce at DB. Angela, 100%. Look, whether they get Bolden or not, even if they didn't, look at the class. It's pretty good. Charles Lester, etc. I mean, they got some guys. I'm not worried about Florida State at DB. Give me some linebackers. Let's figure out what's going on at a few other spots. Maybe a running back. Definitely a receiver. O-line is at least 2. I think at least 2 linebackers. They'll be okay. How do I feel about Rodemaker? Not very good. I don't think he's that great. I don't think you're going to win 10 games with him. It's just my opinion. Angelo, how real, is the information on KJ Bolden's teammate, that linebacker that was supposed to reclassify to the 24 class? I don't know which kid you're talking about because he plays at Buford and they got a ton of kids. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. I'd have to look up to Buford. Buford's got like half dozen Power 5 kids almost every year. Oh, I know you're talking about. He's got the Perot or whatever. I think he's going to go to Auburn. He's a hell of a player. I'd take that kid in a heartbeat. He's really freaking good. He plays some running back for Buford, etc. Perlotti, something like that. Really nice kid, too. But boy, he's a thumper. Christopher Bennett, besides Hussey and Thomas Boundary walking their starting positions in the secondary, who do you have at the other corner and Buck? I mean, I don't think there is any one spot that I would pick definitively, although Thomas, I think, is the most likely. Can't teach 6'2" corners. Hussey has a great chance. He might be your nickel. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. But I just think Florida State has enough guys that it'll work itself out. And from a depth perspective, you look at a depth chart, Johnny is here, Timmy's here, etc. They have guys that can play multiple spots. So the depth chart is not exactly accurate. That's a good thing because Florida State has versatility. And amen to that. May need to bring in another elite recruiter on staff, D-line and linebacker positions. Look, recruiting against coaching development, you need both. But Florida State needs to recruit better in the trenches in general, just numbers-wise. And linebacker's been weird. Again, they only got 4 kids from the 22 and 23 classes at linebacker, and one of them's transferred. That's not enough. Jeff Burrow's coach knows what type of players he can develop stars who care. A dog is a dog. Well, there's some truth in that. If it's a small town kid like the Hickman, Hickman Collins plays in the middle of nowhere. He's lucky Florida State offered him, to be honest, and he didn't end up at a Division II school or FCS, because there could have been a lot of schools passed on him, and he's really good. Small school kids, it's not the same deal. They're just not going to get as many eyeballs. Just the way it is. All right. He's the real deal. Angela, yeah. Player like his game, I wish we had a chance with him. He was on record saying he'd go wherever KJ goes. Yeah, him and KJ are buddies. They are definitely buddies. Kool-Aid Maker. I'm having a hard time with the recruiting of the elite D-line players. Higgins has been and is an elite developer at the position. Why can't he close on these guys? We have historically been elite. I don't know. To be honest with Higgins, maybe it's just because he's gotten older and kids don't relate to him as well. I couldn't tell you. EMG 4454, DN from Georgia Tech. He came on campus last weekend. He said he wanted development to get to the league. Any info on him? I just know he visited. That's about it. Like, unlike the recruits, like, I don't know these kids in that regard. A lot of these under the radar kids that kind of come up through the ranks, like Georgia Tech wasn't taking 4 and 5 star guys. I have no idea. When he announces something about his commitment date or whatever, you'll know just as much as me. Portal thing is not my deal to this point because I haven't figured out how to get a hold of the kids like some of these other guys. K-Jack, he committed to South Carolina. Are we talking about Prolati? Who are we talking about? Jeff Burrows. This show's so cool. Thanks, bro. No problem. Are you doing recruiting rundowns, portal rundowns? It's easier to do it this way than me just talking on a show. It's just easier. So that's why I did it. And I'll probably do a lot of these moving forward too. So if you're going to the channel in general, and thanks to all the everydayers that make this a great show, check when you go to YouTube, the page, hit live. You'll see other shows that you missed. You can do it that way. And I break them up into segments and put them on the main page as well. But if you just click on the live thing, you can watch the whole thing and go through it as you see fit as well. Let's see. K-Jack. Kennard. Committed to South Carolina. Somebody help me here. What is the appeal of South Carolina? Now, I get their fans are crazy. They're brilliant about finding a way to support a team that stinks. Why do people want to go to South Carolina? Honestly, they're terrible. What is it? K-Jack, thumbs up. Last year, it seemed like more players fit Florida State rather than this year. Am I off on this? Whew. If you mean, you're talking about fit from the portal, Mr. Kool-Aid Maker, you're talking about something else. EMG 4454 is answering my question on South Carolina. He's got 3 money signs up for those of you listening to this podcast later on. Part of it is true because South Carolina's recruiting just isn't good enough. That's about the only way they're going to get there, I guess. Jeffrey Bell, thoughts on the kid that committed from Vero Beach? He's a 26 kid athlete. I've only briefly seen him. If it's the kid I'm thinking, are you talking about the receiver? If that's the kid you're talking about? Portal. Like portal thing, it's just random. You don't know who's going to go in and how they're going to fit your institution. From talking to college coaches, high school coaches, 7-on-7 guys, trainers, and that is random as all get out. They still pick, what's the logo on the hat, less than the person that's wearing it. The logo on the shirt, it's more about the person that's wearing it. But some kids just don't fit Florida State. They want a big city environment. They want USC or Miami or Texas in a bigger city. But then there's also the way you're going to look at it, like, development and stuff. If you're going to take a kid for a year, even if we're not the best fit for you socially, if you're good here for a year, you can go to the NFL. That's something else you can sell. Ricky Knighton. Jeff Burrows asked about. Who's Ricky Knighton? Ricky Knight, you mean? The kid from Palm Beach? He's a 24 DB. Have we started recruiting 26? Yeah, oh, hell yeah, they have. They've offered kids. I think they've offered a kid in 27, if I'm not incorrect there. Ramil Hayes asked that question. Yeah, Florida State's recruiting 25, which is juniors, 26, which would be sophomores, 27 are freshmen. There are even some kids below that they're at least looking at. Michael Washington, South Carolina developed players for the transfer portal, a free agent market. Post of the evening, Mr. Michael Washington. Yeah, South Carolina's just not that good, man. It's a tough job, and I think Beamer's done a pretty good job there, but even with a pretty good portal quarterback, their O-line stunk so much this year, and they lost their running back to USC. That's it. They're not that good. I'm going to go for a couple more minutes. Anybody else has any questions, fire away, but I'm pretty much where I need to be, and I want everybody to look at this as an opportunity to, shall we say, call it an evening. But if you have any questions or anything you want to think about in terms of answering the bell for what I should talk about over the next week or so, besides obviously National Signing Day, fire away. Mike just isn't pulling the trigger as fast. He's worried about the locker room or becoming a portal team only in the eyes of recruits. Maybe. It's possible, Kool-Aid Maker, because you got to be careful about pissing guys off that are here. There's a fine line now that you're winning. Yeah, there's truth in that. K-Jack, we got to tighten up the D-line. Miami just got the C.J. Clark from NC State veteran. Blunt might stay. I mean, Miami's loading up on D-line, but so are a lot of other schools. I mean, Ole Miss is too, etc. It's pretty interesting. How sweet is the Gators schedule? Oof. Florida State next year's got a tough schedule and all that, but Florida's nuts. I don't know what they were thinking. Ramil Hayes, remember this name. Caden Hall, class of 26, wide receiver out of Milton, Florida. They always have somebody up there in the Panama City to Pensacola area that's a really good athlete. Apparently, Caden Hall is that guy, and that right there is all the way out in Pensacola. Irvin, I'm from Fort Pierce. The kid I'm concerned with from Vero is All Day Dre. I might have seen him. Is he at Vero Beach High School? KJ Bolden at bull practice, someone asked him to line up next to D. Hill. He said Hill hasn't lost a rep yet, and he added that he'll see me next year, though. Okay. Caroline Roan. This is Christopher Lee Miller, my top 5 running backs at Florida State. Amply, Sammy Smith, Dex Carter, Work Done, Dalvin Cook. Florida State's running back list is pretty dope. Those are some good players. I really liked Sammy Smith a lot. He was a big back that could play downhill. I don't think the Dolphins did a good job of keeping him in line and getting everything right because Marino never won a Super Bowl. That's kind of sad. I think we're going to wrap it up at this point. Kind of looking at the barometer of what's going on. There's a lot of things happening. I could have a show tomorrow. I may not, but I do know one thing for sure. There's news happening constantly. If something happens, it's probably portal related, but who knows? Oh, let's see. You think Marvin Jr. is a lock to Florida State? I have no idea. If he's in the portal, it's an option. That's all I can tell you, Chris. That is all I can tell you. All right, everybody. I am going to call it an evening. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I'll be back again pretty soon. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe there'll be some portal news, but we'll see. I'm definitely going to have a show. If I don't have one on Saturday, I'll have one Sunday. Everybody, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Make sure that you find out what it is you want to talk about in the next show. You know, we'll be happy to do that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Mr. Kool-Aid. And quite honestly, this is a lot of fun. So I might be doing a lot of live shows moving forward. Gotta find a way to make this really consistent. But right now, I'm really loving it. So let's go. One more question here. Great show. Thanks a lot, Chris Bennett. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming in. So with that, once again, everybody, I appreciate y'all. Have a safe night. Talk to you soon.